everyone. My name is Jessica Teague, and I'm one of the spiritual directors at the Ignatius House. In the reading this week, we read from 1 John about love. The word love is mentioned in this passage 27 times. So it's clear that love is at the very heart of the letter and what John most wants us to know about. Love is a word that gets used a lot, as you well know, so much so that it can often seem really empty. It's good for us to pause and consider the truest meaning of what love looks like in the biblical story. John wants us to realize that love is the essence of who God is. His love is something steady and substantive, and it's at the very heart of the Christian faith. Love is not just something God does, but who He is. God is love, and Jesus is love incarnate. For those of us who hold this faith, we're invited to reveal this love back into the world. John makes the case here that this is not an optional extra, but rather that people will know what God is like by the way that we love. He is really blunt toward the end of the letter that loving God includes loving people. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels intimidated by that statement. We know that this is easier to talk about and much harder in practice. Many of us have been part of communities of faith, or even in our own families, where unconditional love was not lived out. Not to mention the reality that there are many distractions around us, and the pull and drag of the world is with us every day. And yet, we are called to be about love. So let's unpack the passage a little further. The passage starts out by addressing us, the beloved. Beloved, let's continue to love each other because love comes from God. Let's pause there. This is who we are. We are God's beloved. We are His children. The generous outpouring of Trinitarian love. That's us. More than the reality that we are people who struggle with sin and who often come up short. More than the reality that we struggle with outsizing and overemphasizing our performance and achievement. We are first the beloved. Everything changed for me in my own spiritual life when I realized that I originated in the love of the Trinity. That is my truest self and the home to which I am invited to return over and over again. This is true of all of us, but remembering who we are is a constant challenge. St. Ignatius said that we are of love, from love, and for love. This is the reality that I invite you to spend some time sitting with God about. We can ask Him for the grace to help us remember this, since we are so prone to forgetting it. Starting with being the beloved is so foundational that when we forget, we will be tempted to act out of our false selves instead of our true selves. Next in the passage, we find a challenge. Let us love one another. Love is also an action. We are enabled to act in love because we are born of God. When we love, we resemble Him. We show the world what God is like. There's something about love and action that involves first seeing things clearly. Dallas Willard said that the first act of love is always the giving of attention. When we look at God, at what He is like, and study how He loves the world, we can imitate Him. Julian of Norwich put it beautifully when she wrote, "I look at God, I look at you, and I look back to God." By God's Spirit, we begin to see people around us, even the most difficult and irritating people, in the image of God. We begin to notice the cardinals, the oak trees, even the crowd of people packed on the subway, as God's precious creation that He sees, delights in, and cares for. In this next part of the passage, we're told the how of God loves us. The ultimate expression of God's love is Jesus on the cross. On the cross, He reached out to us in love, with forgiveness and new life. When we stand at the foot of the cross and understand, in part, of course, the power and possibility in the love of God, we realize it is the force that has changed the world and still has the power to change the world. Whenever we don't understand the suffering of the world, the chaos around us, we can look back to the cross where the world's suffering and the love of God intersect. It's also worth mentioning that love in the biblical sense is not sentimentality, but rather something much sturdier than that. Love does not require us to be doormats, allowing people to cross boundaries in a way that would harm us. Rather, God's love has the quality and nature of seeking what is best. That is why it enables us not to hate our enemies, but to pray for them, to forgive when we have been harmed, and to seek to want what is good. Love means seeking and willing the good of the other. This is always a helpful grid for me when I'm trying to discern what is most loving when things aren't so clear. This business of loving is a tall order, but with the Spirit's help, we can trust the slow work of God in our own lives to make us lovers of God, ourselves, and other people. So let's not hold back. We can give of ourselves generously in love because God has been generous with us. Let us remember who we belong to, and from that steady place, invite others to experience the love of God. I want to end with a quote from Dallas Willard. God's love is holistic, not something one turns on or off for this or that person or thing. Its orientation is toward life as a whole. It dwells on good, wherever it may be found, and supports it in action. Love is nourished upon the good and the right and the beautiful.